And hello again, and today we're going to have a look at some more free plugins. We're going to look at, I call it automating, or making sure that the buttons on your FLKey, your VPots rather, automagically, as I like to say, automatically tie into perhaps the 8 most useful parameters on each plugin. And so far we've got over 50, I must count them actually and give an exact number, maybe for next time. Various plugins, not all free, some paid for, but popular ones, and they're already mapped. I've got some cack on my keyboard there, I don't know what that is. And today, or the other day rather, I was looking at Reverb. I've been using Reverb for a long time now. It's a site for selling gear and buying gear, and I've done both. And I was looking at it the other day, and I just came across a section which I didn't realise they had of free plugins. So what they've done is they've effectively asked independent developers of plugins if they'd like to host their, I assume this is what they've done, if they'd like to host their plugins via Reverb, and they've got quite a good collection. So a lot of these you can get from elsewhere, but sometimes they're difficult to find. So you can go to Reverb and you can have a good sift through a whole load of plugins that you might not have found otherwise. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Reverb, but I do recommend, if you haven't looked at it, go and explore it, because it's fabulous. There's a whole load of stuff, not just gear to buy, but there's a whole load of articles and interesting bits and pieces there. Well worth having a look. I noticed this morning that they've even made a film about effects pedals, which is interesting, so I'm going to check that out at some point. But I started waffling. Let's get crack on with what we're talking about. This is a selection of the free plugins, and I've picked out 2, which happen to be these 2. Martin Ludder's PG8X, which is based on the Roland. I've gone up my head again. It's gone based on. Let me have a look on my site. This is crap, isn't it? This is my brain going. I've actually got one of these. JX8P. Okay, let's pop back there. And that's quite a good faithful reproduction of the JX8P, and I spoke to, I think it was Martin, or I messaged him, and I think it can also be used to control the parameters on a hardware. So that's going to be the subject of another one of my videos at some point, because I've got a JX8P from back in the day. And the other one we're looking at is the Crystal Soft Synthesizer, which isn't based on any particular hardware, and it's a really interesting plugin. Essentially, well, let's wait till we get there and I'll tell you about it, but it's interesting, so stick with me. Or just quickly nip back to my website. This is where this video is going to live, and I'll give you a little bit more information about what we're talking about today if you want to go and have a look, and I'll put the URL both for Reverb, for these 2 plugins that I'm looking at, and also my blogging post down below this video. So without further ado, let's fire up, do I want to leave the site? Yeah. Let's fire up FL Studio. And I've already got plugins loaded. And essentially what we're talking about is automagically mapping common parameters as far as possible. Now the source for the common parameters is Roland's Analogy. They've got these 6 common parameters here and a level above it, and they're the ones that I've used as the basis. 5 rather below and 1 above it, so you've got 6 there, 2 left, and the 2 are specific to each plugin. And what I've tried to do is pick out the things that you most likely want to tweak when you're in the middle of either composing or mixing and you just want to change the sound subtly. Now that's essentially what Roland have done by picking these out. They're the most, I guess they're the most obvious ones that people, and the most common 2 sounds, and the most probably understood parameters in a generic sense. Things like cutoff and resonance, probably everybody has an idea of what that is, and the filter settings for attack and release, again almost self-explanatory, and vibrato. Whoa, we all know what that is, don't we? Sorry about that. Anyway, I digress. I've got my FLKey in front of me here, and I've also got a camera on the LCD here so you can see what's going on. Now I can't remember if I put this into plugin mode, so let me do that. And I'm going to highlight first of all the Xenology just to show you how this works, so you can see straight away hopefully that I am tweaking the Xenology parameters. And I'm not really going to play anything because that's not what this is about. I might just hit a key by mistake and nothing happens. Probably I'll put a massive attack on it or something, or maybe I'm not feeding it through. But that's not the idea of this video. The idea of this video is you select your plugin, and you've probably got multiple ones open like this for different different sounds for your song or your composition or whatever. As soon as you select it, that plugin then gets activated, and the same parameters as far as possible, with the exception of number 6 and number 7, which are going to be tied to useful features, normally effects. So you can see here, I'm changing the waveform. I've obviously decided for the PGA text that was a useful thing to do, and the chorus, which is obviously key. Back in the 80s, I think choruses weren't new, but they were very effective at making synthesizers sound better, different, and they were a key part of this synthesizer in its hardware incarnation. Anyway, I digress again. Let's have a look at the crystal. Same thing. And you can probably see, what am I changing there? Voice filter frequency, voice filter resonance, shape, voice to filter shape, voice pulse width, delay time, I'm guessing, and delay feedback, and then the level. Now you never know, I've just tweaked all the parameters, but this synthesizer is really interesting, this plugin is really interesting. Basically you're getting different sounds over time that you can key in, and you're never quite sure what you're going to get. That was Ghost in the Synth, but I will have messed it up by fiddling with it, so let's try another one. So that's what this plugin is about. It's interesting, changing the voice and combining voices over time, and even on release you'll get something. So fascinating stuff. But let me quickly flick through just to show that there's no smoke and mirrors. I'm on the Xenology, I'm on the PG8X, and I'm back on the crystal. I've gone back to the PG8X, and basically you fired up FL Studio. You've got an FLKey, either the 37, which is nice because it has the LCD, or the Mini, works in exactly the same way, and you're going to get this functionality out of the box once you've installed my script edition. And what I've done is I've taken what ImageLine and Novation did with their programming, and I've just added on effectively in a very simple way a lot of third-party plugins. And I'm hoping that at some point Novation and ImageLine will pick up on this work and maybe make it a part of the script that gets distributed with the keyboard. Not necessarily mine, but their version, because I'd like to see external plugin instruments, and I'd like to see effects on it as well. But as I say, I digress. That's not what today is about. Hopefully you've got something out of this. Go along to the Reverb website. Have a look through the Reverb website because it's great. Go to the link for plugins, download a few free plugins, have a play. If you've got an FLKey, you're laughing. I've got these two programmed from the Reverb site, and I've got a whole load of others as well, and I'll put the link down below as to all the ones that are supported so you can have a look. There is a never-ending supply of instrument plugins is what I'm discovering, but I'm working my way through, and I'm just adding them as I come across them, and I'll give you a count on the next video, I promise. It's quite a lot now. And obviously in addition to that, you've got all the FL Studio, all the ImageLine plugins that come with FL Studio are supported in the same way. Okay, well, thanks very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you get something out of it. Feel free to give me a like. Subscribe if you want to see more of these kind of videos. I mainly do stuff about control surfaces, but recently I've been looking at plugins as well. So I won't waste any more of your time. Thank you very much.